As the sun set, I stood deep in thought, a tear slipping down my cheek. Memories of the first time I saw this sunset with Catherine rushed back. It was always special, no matter how many times I saw it. It felt right that her spirit was meant to linger here forever. Catherine was my one true love, and losing her at 31 left an emptiness in my heart I couldn't fill. She was my first and only love, and the loss was harder to bear than I could have imagined. The hum of the ship's engines mirrored my thoughts as we sailed to the next port. Despite the sadness, a smile formed as I thought of her. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the container that had brought me on this journey. "I love you, Kath," I whispered as the salty breeze hit my face. I almost hesitated to open it, but my son's steady hand on mine helped me keep going. "You can do this, Dad," he said gently. "It's what she wanted." I nodded, struggling to hold back tears. "It feels wrong," I said, "like I'm letting her go." My son handed me a small gold chain with a glass pendant. "She's always with you," he smiled. "Keep this." I met Catherine's mom, Mona, with mixed feelings. She'd never been fond of me, always speaking like I was the punchline of some joke. I never let it bother me, though. She was one of those people who didn't think I was good enough for Catherine, but I had my own silent response to her judgment. Mona greeted me with her usual sarcastic tone. "Thanks for coming, Ray," she said, eyeing my suit disapprovingly. "She'll be right down," Mona said. I just smiled, thinking about the picture of Catherine in my head. Catherine's dad, however, was always great, and I got along well with him. Then Catherine appeared. I nearly dropped my drink. She was stunning, petite, curvy, with blonde hair and bright green eyes that sparkled with life. "I'm Catherine," she said with a playful grin. I stammered, "Catherine?" "The original," she teased. "You can call me Grandma." She took my arm as we left. Her floral scent made my head spin. We drove her silver Jaguar to a symphony, a night I hadn't expected to enjoy, but I did. During intermission, I put my arm around her. She smiled, saying, "I wish you'd done that earlier." Later, she whispered during the performance, making me blush. Afterward, we went to her favorite ice cream spot. It wasn't what I expected, a Cold Stone Creamery by the river, but we sat on the grass, eating ice cream under the stars. "I had a wonderful time," she said. "And to think I almost tried to get rid of you." Her voice softened as she shared how her family treated her, and we laughed together. "My family's strange," she admitted. "They passed me off to someone else. But I haven't had this much fun in ages." "Thanks." "How about we go dancing?" I suggested. She squealed, "I haven't danced in ages." But she hesitated. "I don't have the right shoes." "Don't worry about it," I said, eager to go. "Wait, we're close to Catherine's. I'll borrow some shoes from her." I admitted I didn't have a key, but she insisted we go to her granddaughter's apartment. "It's just 8 blocks away," she said. As we drove in the smooth Jaguar, I asked, "Isn't it confusing with both of you named Catherine?" "Nope," she replied with a grin. "I'm Kath, she's Kat." When we arrived at the apartment, I wasn't much help picking out shoes, but that didn't matter. We weren't being quiet when we opened the door, but it didn't matter since no one heard us. Catherine's bedroom door was directly ahead, and there she was, bouncing on some guy I didn't know while another was behind her. She was giving a much better BJ than she had earlier to a third guy. The guy getting the BJ turned his head, and our eyes met. I just waved and closed the door. Kath looked at me. "Guess I'll have to dance in these shoes," she said. I slowly nodded. "Kath, I'm not sure "No way, Raymond Jordan," she interrupted. "You asked me to dance, and now you're sticking to it. Let's go." We got back in the car, and I drove stiffly toward the club I had in mind. "Ray, sometimes life can really suck," she said. "Stronger people learn to pack all the bad stuff away in separate boxes. My idiot granddaughter is doing something awful to you. But remember, life is short. When you're my age, you'll realize no one dies wishing they had less fun. They always wish they had more. Whether you break up with my granddaughter or not doesn't matter. When you look back on this in 5 years, do you want to say, 'The night I found out Kat was cheating, I went home and slept'? Or do you want to say, 'The night I found out she was cheating, I put it aside and danced my A off'?" She held out her hand, and I took it. "Let's dance our asses off, Kath," I said. The rest of the way, Kath sang along, laughing quietly. "Are you laughing at me?" I asked. "I guess I'm a sucker." "No, sweetie," she said. "It's just that you told me she was studying. You were close. Looks like her study group was really giving it to her." Kath and I danced until they kicked us out. The music was loud, and just as she said, I put all the pain from Kat's betrayal in a box and forgot about it for the night. Kath quickly realized that dancing now was different from how it was done back then. You didn't learn specific dances, you just moved to the music however you wanted. Kath had the moves for it, and she got tons of compliments. She only danced with me. In the dim club, no one knew her age, except me, and I didn't care. Some of my friends came over, and I knew they'd probably tell Catherine they saw me here. When I drove Kath home, she gave me the best hug I've ever had on her son's doorstep. I don't know if she meant to press her chest into me, but it made things awkward. She laughed at my reaction. "Guess I won't be your grandma, huh?" she asked. "Probably not," I said, "but I really enjoyed tonight. You're a very special lady." "Good," she said. "I'd have been a terrible grandma anyway. Talk soon." I was too lost in my own misery to notice much of what she said. I climbed into my truck, missing the smooth ride of the Jaguar all the way back to my dorm. When I got back to my dorm, the message light on my phone was blinking. I checked it and saw a couple of messages from Catherine. The first one was from her, and I hoped she'd be telling me about a bunch of guys who had taken advantage of her, but no luck. "Hey, my man. Thanks for taking care of my grandma. Hope she wasn't too much trouble. I love you so much, and I'll make it up to you. I feel way better about my class after tonight. A few more study sessions like this, and I'll definitely get my C. Thanks again. Call me." Then it hit me. The guy she was with in the message was the TA from her econ class. The second message was even more ridiculous. I half expected the TA to tell her about what he saw, but then I realized, if I was sleeping with some hot girl, would I tell her that her boyfriend was watching? Probably not. From the message, I could tell she had no idea, but I knew the TA was probably laughing at me. "Hey, honey, surprised you're not home yet. The concert was supposed to end by 10. I hope she didn't drag you out to eat or something. I'm exhausted from studying, so I'm going to bed. I'll meet you for lunch tomorrow and we can make up for tonight. Love you." She must think I'm the biggest fool alive, I thought. As I sat there, I started to wonder, how long had she been doing this? More importantly, why? We weren't married, not even officially engaged. I hadn't even given her a ring yet. I'd spent a lot of time with her family, though, and she'd told them I was the guy she was going to marry. It felt weird. We had dinner once with her parents, her uncle, and his wife. She told them we were going to marry and have the same kind of marriage her parents had. Her mom gave me a smug look, and her dad smiled politely. But her uncle's wife nearly spit out her food. The uncle just looked at me like I was some poor sap. I figured it was just a weird family thing. Kath taught me her way of dealing with things. The next day, both my cell phone and dorm phone rang off the hook. I ignored them. She left message after message asking where I was and what was going on, but I didn't think about her. It was easier than I expected. I simply shoved her into a mental box and closed it. By the afternoon, she showed up at my dorm. Conveniently, I was studying at the library. A friend tipped me off, so when I finished, I sat in the park across from my building and waited for her car to leave. Then I called the RA and asked for my lock to be changed. I tried to anticipate every move she might make and block them all. By the end of the day, she had no clue what was going on. Everything seemed fine to her, while I was left completely in the dark. I began enjoying it. Every time the phone rang, I checked the caller ID. If it was her cell, her apartment, or even her parents' number, I just smiled and let it go to voicemail. She almost caught me once. My lock hadn't been changed yet, and around 7 p.m., I heard a key in the door. I quickly dove into my closet and buried myself under a pile of laundry. I had to breathe in the stench for a few minutes, but it saved me from having to deal with her. I barely contained my laughter as she stood right next to me, talking to herself. "Where the hell are you?" she muttered. She checked my call log, noticed I hadn't received any messages, and then left. Soon after, the phone rang again. It was from an unfamiliar area code, so I picked it up cautiously. "So, are you heartbroken?" a cheerful voice asked. "Nope," I replied. "A very wise woman taught me how to handle stuff like this. Life's too short not to have fun." "How are you handling it?" she asked. "My granddaughter mentioned something about last night. I didn't bring it up, though. I just put her in a box and put it away. I'll deal with it when the time comes," I said. "I've been thinking about this," she said. "Do you want me to fix it for you?" "No, I'm fine," I answered. "Oh, pooh," she pouted. "I decided I want to be your grandma after all." "Why not just be my friend?" I suggested. "Deal," she said warmly. "Meet me at Cold Stone in an hour." I met Kath at the same ice cream place we went to the night before. This time, though, everything felt different. Instead of a slinky dress, she was wearing jeans. I couldn't help but notice her curves every chance I got. She didn't seem like someone's grandma at all. Jeans are a tricky thing for women. Too tight, and they show everything. For guys, loose, baggy pants are in style, so we can get away with it. But women's jeans don't leave much to the imagination. Kath looked great. I couldn't stop sneaking glances at her. She suddenly set down her ice cream and took off her leather jacket. "Is this better?" she asked with a grin. I stared, confused. "Huh?" "I was worried about your neck," she chuckled. I rubbed my neck, trying to figure out what she meant. "You were too busy looking at my A," she teased. "So I figured you might strain your neck. Took off the jacket to make it easier for you." I blinked, caught off guard. Thanks," I stammered. Kath shifted the conversation. "Kat and I are thinking about going to Hawaii for a week or two." "Sounds like a good start to her summer," I replied. "Hope you enjoy it, whether she does or not." Kath chuckled. "She'd probably have more fun if she weren't going with me. Bet she'd rather go with you." "Oh, sure," I said dryly, so I could hold her stuff while she messes around with other guys. "Honey, you're lucky," Kath said. "You found out about her before it got too serious. Not everyone does." She was hinting at something, but I wasn't sure what. "So, how about you come to Hawaii with me?" she suggested. "First off, I need a summer job," I said. "And second, there's no way I'd go anywhere with your granddaughter again." Kath smiled knowingly. "A man with backbone. So you're not taking her back?" "Nope," I confirmed. "Good for you," she said, diving back into her ice cream. "So, tell me about that summer job. What would be ideal for you?" "I just want something that pays more than minimum wage," I said. "But what would be perfect is an assistant or gopher job at an architectural firm." She leaned in, flashing that same smile her granddaughter used to get me to do things. I realized I was in trouble. "If I get you that perfect job, will you come to Hawaii with me?" "Two things," I started. "Is it always going to be two things with you?" she teased. "First, I can't afford a trip like that," I said. "And second, I'm still not going anywhere with Kat." "First thing," she replied, "I'm very wealthy. I'll pay. And second, I want you to come with me, not with Kat, but instead of her." "Wait," I said. She cut me off. "All my relatives put up with me because I'm young enough not to be put in a home, and they're afraid I'll cut them off when I'm gone. If Kat had come with me to the concert, I would have been miserable and home by 9:45. You didn't want to be there at first either. You were doing it for Kat. What did she promise you? A BJ or something more? But after a while, I could tell you were having a good time because you wanted to be with me, not because of what I had. And don't lie, you were checking me out." I lowered my gaze, embarrassed. "Don't be embarrassed," Kath said, grinning. "Women like to be appreciated. So let's go to Hawaii. It'll help you forget about Kat and give me some fun with someone who really wants to be with me for me." "Okay," I smiled. Kath leaned in and I wrapped my arm around her. "Sucker," she teased, then grabbed my ice cream. The next day, more calls came from Kat, but I ignored them. At lunch, I got a call from Kath. "Hello, friend," she said. "Two things." She laughed before continuing. "Ever heard of Nathan Johnson and Associates?" "They're one of the top design firms in the state," I replied. "You start there as soon as we get back from Hawaii. How's $15 an hour sound?" she asked. "I'm so happy," I replied. "Thank you so much." "What's the second thing?" "I need to borrow your dorm room for about an hour tonight," she said. I gave her the details and floated through the rest of my day. Later, I got a confirmation from NJA about my internship. Kath was on a roll, and I forgot to remind my RA to change my lock. At 7 p.m., Kath arrived with a bright smile and a bunch of bags. I hugged her, and she nearly lost her balance. After dropping the bags, she hugged me back, and I had to pull away. Her chest pressed against mine, stirring an unexpected reaction. "Need anything?" I asked. "Yeah," she grinned. "You're going to be my audience." "Where's your bathroom?" she asked. You might not want to go in there," I answered, embarrassed. With a playful look, she made her way to the bathroom door, pulled a chair over, and sat. "Sit," she said, before disappearing behind it. I heard her muttering, "I knew it would be bad, but wow," followed by shoes clattering as she got ready. "Tell me what you think," she called. She stepped out in a tight red swimsuit that hugged every curve. My mind went blank. She looked stunning. The tiny spaghetti straps barely held it up, and I couldn't see how it would survive water without snapping. "I need to learn kung fu," I joked. "Why?" she asked, amused. "So I can fight off all the guys at the beach." "Does that mean you like it?" she smirked, glancing at my pants. "Yeah, I see you do," she said, heading back to the bathroom. She came out in an even skimpier one-piece. It was strapless with a thong back, barely holding everything in place. I could barely remember she was my ex-girlfriend's grandma. "What do you think of this one?" she asked shyly. "Kath, you can't wear that," I said firmly. She raised an eyebrow, teasing me. "What will people think if they see you in that?" I don't know," I stammered. She moved closer, making me step back, then laughed and went back to the bathroom. I tried to focus on her wrinkles, but honestly, none of that mattered. She looked incredible. When she came out in a blue bikini, I nearly lost control. The bikini bottom was a thong, and her body filled it perfectly. As she turned, I couldn't help but rub my lap. She shifted her top, and that was it. She saw my reaction and smiled knowingly, disappearing into the bathroom again. Next, she wore a seashell and string bikini that barely covered anything. I couldn't believe how young her body looked. I was lost in the sight of her. "What do you think?" she asked. I could barely speak. "Kath, I think you should stop. I don't think I should go to Hawaii with you." She stepped closer, disappointed. "Why not?" "I can't handle this," I admitted. "Every suit you wear makes me think things I shouldn't." She sighed. "If we went to Hawaii, I'd just be jealous. We wouldn't enjoy it." "You're right," I agreed. "I like the suits, but I don't want to be that guy." "How about a compromise?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. "What do you mean?" "I'll buy more modest suits, but I'll wear these just for you. When we're alone. Like, if it rains and we stay in." "For me?" I whispered. She nodded. "For you." "Okay," I said softly. "You know," she teased, "we might stay in even when it's not rainy." "I'd want you to rest," I said, embarrassed. "One more suit to show you," she said, rubbing my arm. "Kath, I can't handle another one," I said nervously. "We weren't honest before," she whispered, her voice low. "Let's be truthful now." I agreed, relieved that this one might be less revealing. But my mind raced. Had she just said we'd be staying in the same room in Hawaii? She came out, and I nearly choked. This time, she was completely without clothes, sitting in my lap, straddling me. She kissed me deeply, her voice heavy with desire. "How do you like this one?" she asked softly. Before I could answer, we heard a voice. "Kath, what the hell are you doing?" Kat yelled, standing behind us. Frozen, I couldn't move, but Kath stayed calm, walking over to Kat as if nothing was wrong. "Why are you here?" Kath asked, unbothered. "I've been looking for Ray," Kat whined. "Why are you without clothes with my fiancé?" "Boyfriend," Kath corrected. "He never asked you to marry him." "Ex-boyfriend," I added. "Let's not forget you dumped me." "Did not?" Kat shot back. "Well, he's still dressed, so nothing happened, but you owe me one, and stay away from my boyfriend." "Ex-boyfriend," I repeated. "Since when?" she screamed. "Since last night when we found you with 3 guys," Kath said bluntly. Kat went pale. "That was a mistake. It was just closeness. I love you, Ray, not them. It was to help with my grades." "So you hooked up with a bunch of guys for a C?" I asked. "You could have at least aimed for a B+. "Ray, we can fix this," she pleaded. "Don't be angry." It didn't mean anything. "I'm not angry," I replied. "I'm relieved." "You are?" Kat asked, confused. "Yeah," I said, walking over to the TV. "Look." She followed me, still unsure, as I grabbed a box from behind the TV. "I was going to propose after graduation," I said. "But you saved me from a disaster. Honestly, I'm sure you'd still be cheating after marriage. So thank you for saving me all that heartache." Kat stared at the box, speechless. "Thanks, Kat," I added sarcastically. "You've really spared me from marrying someone who didn't love me." "I do love you," Kat protested. "We can talk after Grandma leaves." "We have nothing to talk about," I said, opening the door. "Have a great life." "Wait until I tell Daddy," Kat sneered at Kath. "I hope you do," Kath replied calmly. "You do?" Kat asked, confused. "Think about it," Kath said, smiling at me. "It'll make my life easier and save me money." "Exactly what I want." Kat was speechless. "And let's talk about you," Kath continued. "I never thought you'd be the one to feel so hopeless." "What?" Kat asked, bewildered. "You're cutting your own throat," Kath said. "Twice." "How?" Kat asked, sitting down next to us. "When you go running to your dad, he'll call me. This will come out sooner or later. If it happens soon, it's a problem for you. I won't stay quiet about you using your dad's apartment as a hookup spot. He'll be furious when he finds out." "You wouldn't dare tell him that," Kat hissed. "Yes, I would," Kath shot back. "I'm old enough to do whatever I want. No one pays my bills." Can you say the same? You'll be in more trouble than I will, and you'll have made an enemy of me. Kat paled. What do you mean? When I die, you won't get nearly as much as you think, especially being my special granddaughter, Kath said. Okay, Granny, Kat said sweetly. I won't say anything. Ray, I'll call you tomorrow. Don't bother, I said. We're still done. Kat left, and Kath smiled at me. Looks like that excitement deflated your mood, she said, rubbing my jeans and kissing me. You okay? I'm fine, I replied. Don't worry, Kath grinned. We'll have plenty of time for that in Hawaii. Hawaii was perfect. I'd never had a better time. Even before we settled into the hotel, I realized something Kath had known from the start. Despite the age gap, we were made for each other. We shared a similar temperament and tastes, and where we didn't, we compromised. The bedroom was no exception. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. Kath was making up for lost time, and I was all in. With Kath, I felt free to be myself. After 3 weeks in Hawaii, I started my summer job at NJA. Mr. Johnson met me on my first day. I worked hard and quickly earned responsibilities other interns didn't get. My parents weren't thrilled I stayed for the summer, but they understood the job's importance. When I finally told them I was in love with Kath, my mom asked, "That's nice, dear. Do you think she's the one?" Without hesitation, I replied, "I'm sure." "What makes her special?" she asked. "Well, Mom," I said, "she's one of a kind. Often imitated, never duplicated." I laughed, remembering where I'd heard that. After hanging up, I realized she probably thought I was talking about Kat. Catherine bought a condo, and we hosted a housewarming BBQ. It was also my official introduction to her family. Kat's family arrived first. Kat's dad greeted me warmly, but her mom just stared. Kath smiled at me and asked me to start the grill. "Thomas, you can help Ray if you want, but it's his grill," Kath said. Thomas looked confused, then came to sit with Kath. The conversation quickly turned tense as he flipped out, calling me names and accusing Kath of losing her mind. Kath calmed him down and sent him home to cool off. Thankfully, her younger brothers, Carl and Cal, were more accepting. Carl's wife, Linda, was pregnant, so I spent much of the day running errands for her. Cal's wife, Debbie, was unexpectedly sweet. She told me, "You're really good for Mom. She's never been this happy." Catherine couldn't resist teasing me, which shocked her kids, but we all enjoyed ourselves, even though her oldest son didn't approve of us. By that point, I was so in love with Catherine that I'd do anything to make her happy. I decided to talk to Thomas over lunch. "How can I fix the tension between you and your mom?" I asked. "Ray, it's just weird," Thomas said. "I always thought you'd end up with my daughter, and now you're with my mom, who's almost 3 times your age. How did this even happen?" "Love doesn't follow a plan," I said. "I thought I loved your daughter, but when your mom and I spent time together, it just felt right. I didn't expect it." He nodded. "I remember Mom saying she was going to marry you, but then you went to a concert with her, and I thought maybe she was trying to get you two back together." "At that point, I wasn't thinking about anyone else," I said. "Your mom made me see things differently. That night, I realized she's the most beautiful woman I've ever met." We talked for a while, and I explained how I found out about Kat's betrayal. That's when everything ended with her. With Catherine, things just felt natural, and we didn't care what anyone thought. "You're her oldest son, and seeing you stay away hurts her," I said. "I want to be with her forever. I'd love if you could be a part of it." Thomas hesitated. "You'll probably end up leaving her, breaking her heart. If that happens, wouldn't you want to be there to pick up the pieces?" I asked. It took a while, but Thomas eventually came around. Kat and Mona, however, never accepted me. When school started, Kat confronted me, asking if my summer fling was over. I laughed, telling her it had ended months ago and that I was truly in love now. "Don't you miss me?" she asked, trying to provoke me. "I have everything she has, but younger." "Yeah, but hers are better," I replied. "And I trust her." Kat sneered. "You've got a gilf fixation, huh? You'll come back to me eventually." I shot back. "Actually, you are the skanky version of her. I want the original." At Thanksgiving, Mona made sure to embarrass me by leaving me at a small table by the dog's food bowl. Kath, however, didn't hesitate to sit me at the head of the table, pulling me close. Mona's attempts to humiliate me were met with Kath's sharp wit. "Mona," Kath said with a grin, "every time you try to hurt the man I love, you're only hurting yourself. Subtract 100,000 from whatever you think you're getting from me." Mona, stunned, left the table, and from then on, she was polite, but still glaring at me. Kat tried to provoke me again, showing up at a pool party in a bikini. I didn't hesitate to tell her that Catherine looked better and that I missed more than just the physical. Kat snapped, but I stood my ground. "You're the past," I said. "I'm done." Months later, Kat tried again, but I reminded her of everything I had with Catherine. Despite the tension from Kat and Mona, Catherine and I were happy. Eventually, Thomas came around and accepted our relationship. A couple of hours later, we returned to the party for dinner. Debbie had already shared what happened, and even Thomas seemed to warm up to me. A few months later, over lunch, I told him, "You're about to be shocked again." "Please don't say you're leaving her," he said, hoping I was wrong. "No, it's worse," I replied. "I'm out of school and have a good job." He seemed irked, likely because Kat was still struggling to graduate. "I love Catherine," I continued, "but what we have now isn't enough for me." "You're young," Thomas said. "You can't expect her to keep up." "Want me to help you find a mistress?" He looked shocked and angry. "Thomas, sit down," I laughed. And he did, confused. "I wanted you to know first before I talked to Kath," I said. "I want to marry her. I've been with the firm for over a year now, and we support ourselves. We're not relying on her money, which means more for you and your kids when she's gone. But I want her to be legally mine." I handed him a prenup I had drawn up. "We'll keep what we came in with, no claims on each other's assets." "Does Mom know?" he asked. "No," I replied. "I wanted to give you a heads up first." He sighed. "You know she won't sign it." "What do you need from me?" "I need your blessing to ask her and help me find a ring," I said. "Blessing granted," he said, "but don't ask me to help pick the ring. Try Debbie." I reached out to Debbie, and after some weekends of looking, we found what we thought was the perfect ring. We planned another family BBQ, but things quickly went wrong. "Debbie, out of all my daughters-in-law, I trusted you the most," Catherine said, suddenly furious. "Get out of my house!" Debbie was nearly in tears when Cal and Thomas came over. "Mom, you don't know what's going on," Thomas snapped. Catherine, teary-eyed, asked, "How could you do this, Ray?" I explained, "I've been planning this for a while. Carl and Debbie helped, but it's ruined now." Catherine asked if we could fix it. I shook my head. "We have to do it now." I turned to her and asked, "Catherine Smythe, will you marry me?" She looked stunned. "You all knew about this?" she asked, glancing around. Thomas said, "He asked me for my blessing." Cal added, "He got Debbie to help with the ring." Catherine hesitated before saying, "No." I was crushed, and Thomas was shocked. "Well, maybe," Catherine amended, grabbing my arms. "We'll be back." We left, and a short while later, she returned wearing my ring. Kat and Mona refused to attend the wedding, and Thomas had to force them both to come. Catherine refused to sign the prenup, but eventually agreed when I told her we couldn't marry without it. She signed, then immediately tore it up. The next summer, we got shocking news. Kat was pregnant, but didn't know who the father was. Thomas was worried, and I offered to help Kat with a job at my firm. A few weeks later, we found out she lost the baby, but she didn't seem too upset about it. When I mentioned the job to Kat, she snapped, "I don't need a job. That was supposed to be your thing. You were supposed to take care of me. And just because you married my grandma doesn't make you my grandfather. Get a clue, Ray." I told her, "I bought that car with my own money. Catherine's finances are separate, and she's not giving me any of her wealth." Kat shrugged and walked away. Catherine was frustrated with her daughter and Mona. "I've tried so hard to love them, but they keep pushing it." I comforted her. "Don't let them get to you. You've got me." Catherine shook her head. "If I didn't have you, I'd be just another lonely woman in a nursing home, waiting for my family to divide up my assets when I'm gone." I reassured her. "Your kids love you, Catherine." She smiled. "They love you, too. The younger grandkids even call you Grandpa." One night, after a long conversation, she asked seriously, "What happens when my body starts to fail? When I can't keep up anymore?" I held her close. "We'll do it as long as we can. And when we can't, we'll walk together, talk about everything we've seen and done. We'll make each other happy in any way we can." Catherine teased, "You're only taking these trips with me because you love me and you know I love to travel." I grinned. "True. And also because you love to make me crazy in different hotels." We laughed together. But then there was a knock at the door. "Just a minute," Catherine said, slipping on a robe and handing me one too. Thomas stood there, looking serious. "We need to talk," he said. "And Ray, I want to apologize. I didn't like this relationship at first. I thought you were after Mom's money." I raised an eyebrow. Why does it seem odd for an older man to be with a younger woman? Thomas nodded. Yeah, I get it now. It's just complicated. After a while, most of us started accepting you too, though I still had doubts. Ray, I overheard what you told Catherine, and it made me rethink how I've treated you, Thomas said. I won't make that mistake again. I nodded, just as Catherine entered. I'll leave you two to talk, I said. Actually, I need you here too, Thomas replied, and we moved to the dining room. It's Kat, Thomas began. She's spiraling. She's a few months older than you, Ray, and will be 26 next week. Since the miscarriage, and before that, she's been staying home during the day, partying at night. This morning, we had to pick her up from a pills-related arrest. She gave away her car, and now we're responsible for the damage. He rubbed his face, exhausted. I've tried everything, offering her a job at my office, but she can't even type or use a spreadsheet after 6 years of college. Last week, I saw her flashing the lawn guy from the window. She laughed it off like it was a joke. Catherine struggled not to laugh. Ray, what was she like in school? When did this start? Thomas asked. How do we fix it? I glanced at Catherine, who shrugged. I raised an eyebrow, and she shrugged again. Thomas looked between us, sensing something. Okay, what aren't you two telling me? Catherine nodded at me, signaling it was time. Remember the man-to-man talk we had a few years ago? The one I swore you to secrecy about? I asked. About you and Kat breaking up? Thomas replied. Yeah, I said. I didn't tell you the whole truth. When Catherine and I caught Kat, it wasn't just one guy, it was 3. One of them was a teaching assistant in her econ class. That's how she got through college without learning anything. I even did some of her assignments. Thomas looked shocked, but Catherine interrupted. How is that your fault, Ray? I helped her, but this isn't just about school, I explained. You and I made plans, worked hard, and built our careers. Kat never had a real plan. She wanted to live like you, but now she's stuck and doesn't know how to move forward. Thomas looked confused. So what was her plan? You paid for her college, I said. Her plan was to marry someone like you and live the same life. She wanted our marriage to look like yours. Catherine's face darkened, but neither Thomas nor I noticed the shift. How do we help her? I asked. Thomas sighed. My lawyer said we can send her to rehab and avoid jail, but I still have to pay for the car damage. At least she'll stay out of trouble. Catherine nodded. That gives us time for our trip, Ray. We'll talk when we get back. I have an idea, I said. Thomas was curious. We reach out to people we know, get them to offer Kat a job, something simple she can grow into. We don't tell her we helped, and we can subsidize it if needed, I explained. Catherine frowned. Buying her a job isn't the answer. She's been spoiled. Having a job will help her be independent, I argued. It'll introduce her to new people and get her away from her old habits. I like the idea, Thomas said. We'll figure out some options and set up interviews after your trip. Catherine still seemed frustrated. Ray, you're not helping Kat. I know you love me, but I've got issues too. Kat's too immature to appreciate what's really important, especially when it comes to men. Catherine shared painful stories that helped me understand more about her family dynamics. A few weeks later, Kat finished rehab and took a job at one of our connections, but was fired after 2 days. She went through all 4 companies we knew before Thomas gave her a job at his office, where she did little but still got paid. Meanwhile, Catherine and I traveled, visiting places on our drop-dead dozen list. We were happy, making memories together. Then one morning, something happened that scared me. We were preparing for a family BBQ, and when Cal arrived, Catherine confused him with Carl. I panicked. Thomas, you handle the grill, I said. We need to go to the hospital. Catherine dismissed it as a senior moment, but I insisted. A few hours later, I called Thomas. Ray, are you guys on your way back yet? He joked. Thomas, I'm at St. Mark's, I said. Come alone. He showed up quickly. I explained Catherine had a TIA, a mini-stroke, but it was temporary. They'd run more tests. Catherine was resting, and I reassured Thomas. Don't worry, she's just sleeping from the MRI meds. It was a wake-up call. Time was passing, and things were changing for all of us. Later, when Debbie was on the phone updating everyone, Thomas turned to me. How did you know? He asked. I didn't, I replied. But I noticed she confused your brother. She never does that. She looked off, her coordination was off, and her speech was slow. She said she was tired, but I knew better. Damn it, Thomas muttered. I didn't notice anything. Neither did I, said Debbie. You two don't live with her, I explained. You don't spend every day with her. I've stared at her while she sleeps for hours. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Kath suddenly opened her eyes and teased. Did you know I can't sleep with all that yammering? I laughed, relieved. The doctor smiled. A healthy love life likely helps her health. But we'd like to keep her here for a few days for more tests. Kath smirked. Told you. I'd like her moved to a semi-private room, I said. The doctor looked confused. Your insurance covers a private room if you prefer. I know, I replied. But charge us for a private room and put her in a semi-private one. Thomas frowned. Dad, did you have a TIA too? A semi-private room has 2 beds, I explained. She'll be the only patient and I'll sleep in the extra bed. So the other bed stays empty? Thomas asked. Nope, I'll sleep there, I said. Your mom and I have never been apart and we're not starting now, Kath laughed. He's just trying to violate my virtue in the hospital. I'd never do that, I protested. Why not? She shot back. We've done it everywhere else. What do you mean, everywhere else, Mom? Thomas asked. Kath smirked. Oh, we've done it at your house and Debbie's too. Thomas groaned. I blame that on Caddy. I already knew it was you two, Debbie said, laughing, but I thought it was sweet. Kath stayed in the hospital for 4 days and I never left her side. Her health changed. Medications to prevent blood clots and lower her blood pressure became part of our new normal. We spent every moment together, still deeply connected, but adjusting. Catherine became even more lovable with each passing day. We started a new tradition of Sunday family dinners, where she'd joke about how I was treating her. Can you set me up with one of the interns at your office, Thomas? She asked one night. Mom, why would you ask me that? Thomas asked, shocked. Your dad's getting old, she teased. We only did it twice last week. I need a lover on the side. Everyone burst out laughing, including me. Can I stay with you for a few days, Carl? Kath joked. I can't get any privacy here. This pervert follows me around even outside the bathroom. Everyone was stunned, but I knew then that Kath wouldn't be with us forever, and they'd need to figure out what would happen with me. That night, I had a serious disagreement with the family. Kath had fallen asleep by the fire. Carl and his family had already left. Cal and Thomas were in the garage, and I was enjoying my new Mustang. Then, Mona walked in. She's asleep, I said, hoping she'd leave. I know you're devoted to her, Mona said. But you're a young man. You have needs. Twice a week isn't enough. Call Kat. I'm sure she'd help. Before I could respond, Mona continued. Kat thinks you're into older women. If that's the case, you could call me, though I'm not sure you could handle me. Don't you dare tell Thomas, I snapped. But go get him. And from now on, find something else to do during family gatherings. Don't come back here. Mona, shocked, quickly left. I muttered under my breath, Witch. Kath appeared behind me, smiling. You told her, honey. How much did you hear? I asked. All of it, she said. I was awake the whole time. I thought you were asleep, I said. You still don't get it, do you? She smiled. We're connected, Ray. When Mona makes you uncomfortable, it makes my heart race, and that woke me up. I apologized, but she just smiled and said, I wouldn't have it any other way. But since you're apologizing, there are some things you should really be sorry for. Like what? I asked. You should be sorry it took so long to grow up and meet me, she said, and for wasting those 6 months following my granddaughter. You should also be sorry you were too shy when we first met. That cost us at least an extra week together. Anything else? I smiled. The biggest regret, she said, is that we met too late for me to have your baby. I would have loved to see what our children would be like. As the months passed, Kath's health declined. I took time off work to be with her, planning around her better days. She grew weaker, sometimes only able to walk a few steps before needing to rest. We cherished every moment together. I planned a short trip for us, closer to home. Kath wore a beautiful black dress, looking almost the same as when we met 9 years ago, though her health had worsened. We went to a local symphony for a Mozart performance, and Kath fell asleep a few times, but squeezed my hand to let me know she was still there. Afterward, Thomas brought her wheelchair, and we went to Cold Stone for ice cream by the river. Kath smiled, a tear rolling down her cheek. This is where we went on our first date. You're such a sap, she teased. That's why I love you so much. I love you, Kath, I said, leaning in for a kiss just as she smirked. Are you being a little forward? She joked. But then her expression changed. Hurry, Thomas, I said, sensing a shift. Bring the wheelchair over. Kath looked at Thomas, then back at me. Are you sure you love my granddaughter? She asked. I'd never tell anyone this, but you have a nice face. That girl is bad. Get away from her. She paused, looking at Thomas. What the hell are you doing here, you bastard? How dare you come back into my life? You never even cared about your sons. The moment passed, and she turned back to me. I love you so much, Ray, she whispered before closing her eyes. We need to get her home, Thomas said. She had another attack, didn't she? I shook my head. No, she thought you were her father. It's too late for the hospital. She's already home. Thomas was confused. You mean? I nodded. I need an hour with her before we call the authorities. Thomas understood and started making calls. I held Kath one last time before the ambulance arrived. The professionals were respectful and Kath's doctor handed her over to the mortician. They expressed their condolences, but I didn't correct them. In the following days, I did some foolish things, like sitting in my car, lost in thought. Cal found me and asked what was going on. I explained, and they started checking on me, worried I'd fall into a depression. The morning of the funeral, I realized Kath wanted to be cremated, not buried. I began making arrangements for the next step. The funeral was memorable, non-religious, filled with stories. Kat embarrassed herself, claiming she and Kath were alike, and everyone laughed. The next day, Kath's lawyer called us together to read her will. I didn't want to be there, but I had to be. Kat smirked as she saw me in the hallway. I bet you wish you were still with me now, she said. Remember the prenup? You're not getting anything. I'll be rich. I've got my own money, Kat, I replied. All I ever needed from your grandma was love. Mona didn't speak to me, and the reading began. Kath left Carl $1 million, $500,000 for his wife Linda, and $100,000 for each of their kids. Cal and Debbie each got $1 million too. Then came the surprises. Kath had left Thomas an envelope stating that he and I would discuss his inheritance after his divorce. Mona almost fell out of her chair. Kath left Mona $5 and Kat a quarter, which came to about 17 cents after taxes. You're kidding, right? Kat screamed. I should have gotten more. Mona was furious. Why didn't she leave anything for Thomas? Thomas, stunned, said, Mom probably didn't leave Kat anything because of her issues. Kat fumed. I deserve more. I'm her special granddaughter. Ray, this is your fault, isn't it? I replied. Kath always had titles for each of you to make you feel special. That's just how she was. The will left everything else to me. Kat and Mona couldn't understand it. She was out of her mind, Mona spat. She was in her right mind when she wrote this, Kath's attorney said. Mona asked, Why didn't Kath leave anything to Thomas? Thomas replied, This is the first I've heard of it. I'm just as shocked, Kat screamed. I wanted to marry you. I never stopped loving you. No, Kat, I said firmly. You wanted a secure life with me while sleeping around on the side, just like your mother. Mona stood, pale and defensive. That's not true, she said. Kath knew everything, I said, handing Thomas a file. She had investigators watching you. Thomas opened the file, and the shock on his face was palpable. What is all this? He asked, flipping through pictures and records. I explained. Mona's had affairs for years. This report details it all. Dates, places, and photos. Mona tried to take the file, but failed. I have a problem, she said tearfully. I crave closeness. It's only intimacy, Thomas. I love you. Intimacy cravings don't explain this, I replied. Look at these pictures, Thomas. She has no respect for you. I handed him another file. This is a DNA test from 30 years ago. You're not the father of Kat or her siblings. Mona tried to defend herself, but the truth was undeniable. How could you do this? Thomas asked, stunned. Kath raised Kat, and Mona's been cheating on you from the start, I said. You've given everything to her, but she's never been loyal. Thomas was speechless, his world shattered. How long has this been going on? He asked, looking at the evidence. At least 30 years, I said. These tests confirm what Kath suspected. Mona, shaken, tried to protest. I didn't know what else to do. I was lonely. Kath knew, I said, and that's why she left everything to me. The family was left in shock. Kat was furious and refused to accept the will. I should have gotten more, she yelled. I stayed calm, knowing Kath had made her choices and had left me to carry them forward. Thomas lowered his head, clearly wanting to escape, but he stayed through it all. I think Kat knew exactly what Kath had planned, I said. That comment at dinner was just her trying to get us to have the same marriage you and Mona had. I took a breath and continued. When I met Kath, I was smart and hardworking, decent looking, but not a movie star. The fact that someone like Kat was with me made no sense. It's the same with you. Mona was probably stunning back then, right? Why would women like that pick guys like us? Either they genuinely loved us, or they saw us as a safety net. I think Kath saw a bit of that in me. She admired your life, Thomas, and didn't want you to know about all this. She thought ignorance would be easier. But now it's time to face the truth, and I'm here to help make things right. Mona began crying and pleading with Thomas to believe that she loved him. Thomas barely reacted, still glued to the photos. Kat stayed quiet. I realized she'd probably always known about her mother's infidelity. But seeing the truth about her own paternity hit her hard. The idea that Thomas wasn't her biological father threw her whole identity into question. I never wanted revenge on Kat. After everything, I'd had a much better life. I didn't just move on, I upgraded. I went from someone I liked to the woman I loved forever. Thomas, sharp as ever, told Mona he didn't want a divorce yet, but they'd start looking for a marriage counselor. Behind the scenes, though, he was preparing for their separation. He sold the house for $1, moved their assets into a foreign account, and transferred Mona's car to her, stopping the payments. Then he quit his job and took a buyout from his pension, funneling the money into the offshore account. When he joined me in fulfilling Kat's last wish, it was partly to help him cope with his upcoming divorce. The day before we left for Paris, everything came crashing down for Mona. She was served with divorce papers, evicted, and had her car repossessed all in the same day. "I thought you didn't want a divorce," Mona screamed at Thomas over the phone. "I thought about it and decided it was for the best," he replied calmly. "I'll take everything," Mona yelled. "Right now my net worth is 0, Thomas said. "You're welcome to half of nothing." I reminded him of her inheritance. "Oh yeah," Thomas added. "Since we split everything 50-50ths, I get half of the money Kath left you, which comes to about $1.83. "Screw you, Thomas," Mona muttered as she walked away. That was the last time we saw either Mona or Kat. Debbie later told us they were seen on the rough side of town, wearing too much makeup and too little clothing. It seemed like the consequences of their actions were finally catching up with them. As for Thomas, he was getting better every day. Traveling helped him move on, but I struggled. Kath had planned for me to scatter her ashes in 10 places that meant the most to us. Each spot was supposed to help me heal, but it only made me miss her more. By the time we reached the 9th place, I was barely holding on. Kath had given me a locket with a small bit of her ashes, a reminder that I still had a piece of her, even in death. Our final stop was the cliffs of Elysium in Europe, where legend said you could see your true love if you had a pure heart. Kath had joked that she saw me there the first time we visited, and I laughed it off. But now, as I stood there with Thomas, I knew I had to let her go. "Thomas, this is our last stop," I said. "Debbie will probably start introducing you to nice women when you get back, so get in shape." "I'm not sure I'm ready for that," Thomas replied. "You'll get there," I said. "Your mom always told me to live life fully. Now that you're free, it's time to find someone to love. Just like I loved Kath." I stood at the edge, and for the first time, I felt ready to let go. As I scattered Kath's ashes, the wind carried them away, and with it, the last of my grief. "Let's go home," Thomas said softly. "The money is all yours," I replied. "Give Debbie another $1,000,000. But I wasn't ready to go home. "I'm not coming back, Thomas. There's a note in my jacket with all my cards and ID. Thank you for helping me fulfill Kath's last wish. But I can't live without her." I stepped off the cliff, knowing Kath was there to catch me. Now we're together again, and we'll never be apart. She was a little upset with me, but I told her I couldn't be happy without her. She laughed, and everything was fine. Now we watch over our family, but mostly we just talk, just like we always have. We're the same age as when we met, and we'll never be apart again. Even in death, our love goes on.